Hi, you guys. Thanks again for returning for another one of my videos. I really do appreciate it. And really, I'm doing this for you guys um, to get understanding, and also for me too to get understanding and really get in the Bible and see what God says about dreams. Now, before I get into the story, and I call him the Blue Boy. But before I get into that story, I want to get into the Bible and see what God says about dreams and also nightmares. It kind of shocked me a little bit. I'm not going to lie because there's not too much in the Bible about nightmares, only in Job. And his and Job is it's a really interesting book, and for me, I think that is what opened my eyes about these dreams and really spoke to me and why, um, how I'm going to deliver this video. In Job, Job was one of God's most faithfulest, and Satan came to him, and of course, Satan always asks before he does things to God's children, and sometimes God will allow it. In Job, I feel like it's a book of suffering. God's children suffer, and God never really explains why in this book, but He says it does happen, and He allows it to happen. And I think one of the biggest reasons is we suffer to overcome. We suffer to give testimony. We suffer to share with others who are not listening to the Lord, or even wanting the words of the Lord, to say, hey, I believe in God, and I know, the devil was trying to break me, but I overcame that. God broke those chains for me. I prayed to Him, and this is what happened, and this is my testimony. So, and I think a lot of, in the Bible too, it talks about how God, in the Old Testament and the New Testament, God and His angels would come to God's servants in their sleep and basically, talk to them or say their name and wake them up and say, hey, these are your instructions. In the Old Testament, it was Abraham, where God told him, hey, old fart, your wife's about to have, you guys are going to have this son, and this is going to be big for you guys. And they were both old. They were like in their 90s or very old, to have children. And they're like, yeah, right, but it happened. And then came Isaac, and that was their son. Um, Jacob in the Old Testament, Joseph, who was he did big things with his dreams. He interpreted them. I mean, God spoke to him big time. Of course, it's Jesus' dad, um, that raised him on earth. Samuel was woken by the Lord in his sleep. Daniel in the New Testament, Zacharias, Lord came to him and said, "You and Elizabeth, which was his wife, you guys are going to have a son that does great things." And it was John the Baptist they had soon after. Zacharias was an old priest too. He didn't believe he was going to have a boy, but they had John the Baptist. In the New Testament, Joseph is brought in again. Ananias, and God told him He wanted him to go visit Paul, and this is before Paul converted. And he was a believer, but he persecuted Christians. He killed them violently. And God says, Ananias, you're going to go talk to Paul about this dream, and you're going to tell him what I told you. Scary, but it happened. Peter, Paul in Acts, in 2 Corinthians 12, verses 1 through 6. And in Revelations, basically, Revelations was a whole vision. The whole book of Revelation is basically a vision that John had. And God sends those. And it's just amazing to me. Also, how God can speak to us, and I really feel now that I have been becoming closer with the Lord, that the dreams that I used to have are way different from the dreams I've just had previously. And I've been sleeping better now. I don't wake up in the middle of the night saying, in the name of Jesus, and my brother would tell me, he says, so she woke up again in the middle of the night talking, screaming, in the name of Jesus. Why would I have to be doing that? In the Bible, it says, in Proverbs, I want to say this. Proverbs 3, verse 24. When thou liest down, thou shalt not be afraid. Yea, thou shalt lie down, and thy sleep shall be sweet. That's amazing, and thank God for that. Job 33, 14 through 18. For God speaketh once, yea, twice, yet man perceiveth it not. In a dream, in a vision of the night, when deep sleep falleth upon men, and slumberings upon the bed, then he openeth the ears of men, and sealeth their instruction, that he may withdraw man from his purpose, and hide pride from a man. So, God has to wait until our most vulnerable time in our sleep to give us messages, because sometimes we're too prideful to hear him, thinking, oh, he's not talking to me. That's not God. Why would he talk to me? Or, I don't believe that he would try to contact me, or, whatever. Sometimes he has to do it in his sleep to get your attention, because that's when we're most vulnerable. And even though there's only one part, and this is in Job, where it talks about, somebody having a dream, and it was one of Job's friends who he was asking for help, and Eliphaz was his name, and he basically was telling Job in 4:13 through 15. This is what it says: and thoughts from the visions of the night, when deep sleep falleth on men, fear came upon me, and trembling, which made my bones to shake. Now, it says, then a spirit passed before my face, and the hair of my flesh stood up. If you've ever had a bad dream where you're paralyzed, and people, a lot of medical terms, it's sleep paralysis, but, and also, too, they talk about how, this is all from your brain, and the days that you've had and days to come, your consciousness, and the things that you worry about day to day and constantly going on in your life, the dreams and the paralysis are because of that. Now, it may be true, it may be not. I'm not here to say it's true or not, but on the dreams that I have experienced, I have a little bit different take on that. It might be very well that that's what that is, but both times that I have had sleep paralysis, and these are the times that I remember, I've seen visions of things. And I will get into those in a different video. Today I want to talk about the Blue Boy, because he is one of the first, I think, dreams I had where I actually, some kind of spirit, I'm not sure which, had visited me. And I guess I can get into it. I believe I've touched on everything that I wanted to talk about in the Bible. Also, that too, in Acts, this is the last scripture I think I'm going to use, but I wanted to get this out here too, about how God gives us dreams and gives us visions, for whatever. God's using us however, all we got to say is, hey, Lord, let me help you. Please use me. I want to work for you. And this is sometimes how it'll happen. In Acts 2, verse 17, it says, it shall come to pass in the last days, saith God, I will pour out my spirit upon all flesh, and your sons and your daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions, and your old men shall dream dreams. Wow. that's just amazing. And it's such a blessing that, I can say that, these past two dreams that I've had, God has really, I feel like He's using me because I keep asking Him more and more, like, God, give me something. Give me something to do. Give me something you want me to help somebody with. However, so with that being said, and a little, talk about dreams and nightmares and what it says in the Bible about nightmares, not very much, but we all know that what God can do, Satan tries to do too. And, he can be, I think he can be, he can be successful too because God allows it. But we've really got to pray to God and pray for that protection. And even like Job, the one of His most faithful followers, test Job's faith and his trust in God. And that's what we really have to remember when we have these dreams and when we think, oh my goodness, what is going on, we really have to go to God with that and see what's going on. Okay, so the blue boy. When I was 19, I started working at the airport where I'm from, and I was renting cars for a rental car company, and I was making pretty good money, so I got my own apartment, and I was living in this apartment for, I would say it was the first winter that it happened, so I think I moved in the fall. And that February, March, some along that lines, I was woken up by this dream. Now, mind you, that time in my life, I was not searching for God. I did not have God in my life. I was doing a lot of drinking, a lot of heavy drugs. I'm sure I was... I was, being attacked from everywhere from the enemy. And this dream did not come from God. It came from something else. And I'm not sure what it was or who it was. But the story behind it is just, I don't know what to think. But there might have been a purpose from God. Maybe God was trying to show me something. I don't know. But I wasn't talking to Him on a daily basis. So I really don't. I can't base. I don't know, because nothing ever really came from it other than me finding out years later. So I was in bed one night and I was dreaming, and I just sat up in bed and I couldn't breathe. I was like I couldn't breathe. I was trying to take in a breath and couldn't. What it was there's this face right in front of me, and it was blue, and I couldn't hear what it was saying. It sounded really muffled, and I thought, oh my gosh, what was that? And I couldn't go to sleep the rest of the night. I couldn't figure out what had happened to me. I've never had anything like that happen to me, and it was real enough to really wonder what was going on. So time went by, and that spring I had became friends with my neighbor, and we were talking. We were sitting out on the porch because it was a nice day and the weather was getting nicer, and I was looking out by the pool, and I says, oh man, I can't wait till they get the pool open. I'm going to be getting some sun and doing some swimming out there. And my neighbor looked at me and she's like, I'm not swimming in that pool. And I said, well, why? She said, because you don't know? I said, no, I don't know. What are you talking about? She says, they found a dead boy in that pool a couple years ago. I said, you're kidding me. She says, yeah, something happened with the boy, and, they found him, and he was dead. And I thought, oh, that's unfortunate, and I didn't ask anything else. That's all she really knew. She didn't know anything else of the story. And so just time went on, and I had a bird, Tinky Toodles in this apartment, and she was such a sweet little bird. She was a little white. She was an albino cockatiel, so she was like a yellow and white color, and she had red eyes, little pink cheeks. She was so cute, and I would always let her fly around the apartment because she was just so cool. And when I come home, I wouldn't even get up to the door, and she saw me, she would just be chirping her head off and like, oh, mommy's home. She's gonna let me out of this cage and let me go free. And so I let her fly around, and she would climb up on my bed and hang out and whatnot. Well, she was in the kitchen, and I was in the bathroom, and I think I was plucking my eyebrows, and I heard something fall. I was like, oh my gosh, Tinky Toodles. She was nowhere near this. What had happened was a shelf that I had in my kitchen that held like kitchen towels and pots and pans and stuff fell over. Just fell over. And it was weighted down pretty good. I mean, I had some heavier pots at the bottom, and it just fell over. And for some reason, that dream popped into my head. The conversation that I had with my neighbor all came in at once, and I was in the bathroom, and I just started bawling. I'm like, oh my gosh, that was that little boy. He came, to visit me, and which I don't think was the case. I really don't think it was that boy at all, but maybe a vision, or maybe the devil trying to say, yeah, that boy was trying to communicate with you, which is false. I really don't know. I don't really know what happened. And so the time went on, years passed. So this was, I would say, early 2000s this happened. It wasn't until 2007, after I moved in here with my brother. A friend from school I used to hang out with had visited me here, and we were hanging out one night, just hanging out, and we got to talking about visions or dreams, and human spirits, ghosts, which the Bible does state that when people go to heaven or hell, they go and they don't come back. It says that wherever they are, they forget about this life. They don't even remember what happened here on earth, and now they just are with the Lord. And I'm not quite sure where it states that. I'll have to look that up and maybe put it in the description box for you guys so you can read it. But so that's why I really feel it wasn't that boy who was coming to talk to me. I feel like that it was the devil trying to feed into that my new age, style of belief I had back then. And I had all those stones and cart, like all that stuff. I think he was trying to feed into that and trying to get me deeper into those beliefs and get me away from God. That's what I really think it was. But so I was talking to my friend. He was coming over, he was visiting, and so I told him about that story. And I told him about, my neighbor telling me that the boy had passed, and they found him in the pool. And I thought that's who it was. And he just, like, his facial expression, like, he turned white as a ghost, really, and his facial expression just changed. He says, I knew his mother. He says there was a big write-up in the news about it. He said they questioned the boyfriend, they questioned the mother. I guess what had happened was the boy come up missing a couple days, and was missing and abducted, and then a couple days later he was found in the pool. So they knew that foul play was involved, because the boy, he was missing for a couple days. It wasn't just he went down to the pool because he wanted to go swimming and fell in and drowned. No, he was gone for a couple days. So I really don't know what that story was about. I really think I don't know what to think about that, but it was just so odd how those things came about, and how, I had that dream, and then I talked to my neighbor, and then years later my friend come over and told me he knew the mother of that boy. There are no coincidences in this world, and maybe God did set that up for me. But even when I found out that story, when my friend had come over and told me he knew the mother, I still wasn't considered with the Lord yet. I really don't feel that I had totally. See, I think it was about 2015, so it's only been about 4 years, and since I've just been walking so heavily and totally believe in the Lord, and am never going back at all. So it's I don't know what to think. But anyway, that is my story of the blue boy. I hope this blesses you. I hope this can help you with dreams that you're having, and maybe look to the Lord to um, you know have more peaceful dreams. I know my brother's having a hard time sleeping right now, and I kind of told him, this is what I do, brother. I have a Bible app on my phone, and it gets played all night long. I listen to the Bible all night long. I soak it up in my sleep. I soak it up while I'm awake. I listen to my praise music all the time. The more you're in and inviting that spirit to come in and really paying attention to God, He's going to help you, and He's going to bless you, and he might give you those answers that you've been looking for years to find out what on earth that was that. So on that note, I want to say God bless you all in your good endeavors, and keep the faith, y'all.